When we talk about serial killers, the first images that probably come to mind are of adult criminals like Ted Bundy, Eileen Wuornos, and others. Children, on the other hand, are supposed to be innocent, pure, and playful. But sometimes nature creates some very strange and scary anomalies. Here are the top 7 youngest murderers and maniacs in history. Vladimir Vinichevsky. Age at the time of the crimes, 16 years old. During his short but bloody career in 1938 to 1939, the youngest maniac in the USSR attacked 18 children between the ages of 2 and 4. 8 of them died, and the children who survived, because of their age, could not give a clear description of the perpetrator. Vinichevsky strangled his victims and sometimes finished them off with cold weapons. As it turned out during the investigation, he committed the attacks for the sake of perverted sexual intercourse with his victims. The underage serial killer was caught by 3 cadets of the Sverdlovsk School of Workers and Peasants Police, who were patrolling the streets of Sverdlovsk. They followed a suspicious young man who was carrying a child who had fallen asleep to a wooded area. There Vinichevsky was detained when he started to strangle the boy. Vinichevsky had no fear of being shot as his actions fell under Article 36 of the Criminal Code of the RSFSR, premeditated murder with use of a helpless situation of the murdered. And this was punishable by up to 10 years in prison. However, he was tried for banditry, and under this article capital punishment could be applied to minors. In 1940 the sentence was carried out. Alice Bustamante. Alice Bustamante was only 15 years old when she killed her 9-year-old neighbor. Although the girl was Alice's only victim, it was discovered that she had dug several graves that police believed were meant for her younger siblings. Bustamante is currently serving a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Alice's mother understandably disowned her daughter and called her an evil monster. This murder received a lot of publicity because Alice took the time to document her emotions before and after the murder, in her diary, calling her act, quote, quite pleasant. Craig Price. Age at the time of the first murder, 13 years old. Despite his young age, Price rose to fame as one of the most violent young serial killers in the United States. He first took the life of a 27-year-old woman and then killed 3 of his neighbors, a mother with children between the ages of 8 and 10. The blows were delivered with such force that the knife blades broke off in the body of one of the victims. When Craig was arrested, he was unrepentant and calm about what he had done. Because Craig was not yet 16 years old, the law required that he be released from prison when he reached the age of 21. However, Craig Price's case was the catalyst for a change in Rhode Island law. It made it possible for juveniles to be tried as adults for serious crimes. Although the new laws could not be applied retroactively to Price, he was added another 25 years in prison for stabbing his cellmate Joshua Davis. Jasmine Richardson. This girl was only 12 years old when she killed her 8-year-old brother. Her parents disapproved of Jasmine's association with 23-year-old Jeremy Steinke, who claimed to be a 300-year-old bloodthirsty werewolf. He was the one who encouraged his minor sweetheart to commit the crime. Jasmine let Jeremy into the house while her family slept. He killed the girl's mother and father, and Jasmine herself stabbed her brother, who begged her for mercy. The murders made Richardson the youngest killer in Canada. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison, 4 of which she spent in a mental institution. In May 2016, Jasmine was released from prison, changed her name, and is trying to start from scratch. Mary Bell. Mary Bell is the youngest murderer in British history. Psychiatrists who studied her case found that the girl had been brutally physically and sexually abused from an early age. Mary repeatedly attacked her classmates at De Laval Road School, attempted to strangle them, vandalized them, and exhibited sudden mood swings. And the day before her 11th birthday, she strangled 4-year-old Martin Brown. Bell's next victim was 3-year-old Brian Howe, who held him by the throat with one hand and clamped his nose with the other. She also stabbed the toddler numerous times with scissors, and investigators determined from analysis of the wounds that the killer did not have much physical strength. When Mary was captured and tried, she claimed that she committed her atrocities only for the pleasure of killing. She spent 12 years in various prisons before being released, and a few years later gave birth to a daughter. In 2009, it was reported that Bell had become a grandmother. Her daughter and granddaughter were enrolled in a lifetime anonymity program. John Venables and Robert Thompson. In 1993, Liverpool was rocked by the murder of 3-year-old James Bulger. The child was briefly left unattended by his mother at the door of a butcher's shop, where he was spotted by 2 10-year-old boys skipping school, John Venables and Robert Thompson. They forcibly took James away, beating him along the way, dousing him with paint, and throwing bricks and stones. When the child no longer showed any signs of life, the young killers left his body on the railroad tracks to make it look like an accident. They were found thanks to a surveillance camera that recorded John and Robert taking the toddler somewhere. Many people saw the trio along the way, but only 2 approached the boys. One of them was told by the young criminals that they were going with their little brother. The other was told that James was lost and they were taking him to the police. Venables and Thompson each spent 8 years in prison for such a brutal crime. They now have new names and identities. Amardeep Sada. In the photo, the world's youngest serial killer looks small and weak. It's hard to believe this boy is responsible for the deaths of 3 people. He beat to death his 8-month-old sister, his 6-month-old cousin, and his 6-month-old neighbor. Like most serial killers, Amardeep showed no remorse for his misdeeds and did not understand the seriousness of what he had done. He was sent to an orphanage until he turned 18. Since then, no one knows what became of him.